Heroes and Legends, Dynasties, the final battle. As the war was heating up, death was everywhere. During the scuffle, Catherine was about to attack someone she bumped into, but she couldn't believe her eyes. It was Portia of the Sun Assurance. Sister? She screamed. Portia could not believe it. She was filled with sorrow and anger, but felt with great joy and relief. Catherine couldn't believe it. She hugged her fellow sister. They had a close bond since the time where they were under Olga, Catherine's mother. I thought you were dead, Portia. Tears of joy streaming down Catherine's face. My God, look at you. You've grown to be such a fine warrior. Portia said, yes, indeed. But I'm so tired of fighting with the Sun and Sharon. I just want to be with you. And Catherine was like, so you don't wish to be a part of the Sun and Sharon anymore? Very well. So Catherine used her overwhelming powers to strip away the insurance side of Portia, making Portia without her insurance side, and freeing Portia from the sun. Cover me, my sister. I'll lead you to the ship. You and I have much catching up to do. Portia was like, my lady, before we go, there's this one irksome person that troubled me so while I was with the Sun and Sharon. Catherine said, say less. I understand. But I took the insurance part. I saw that bitch Dakota. Let me handle her. And then Catherine used her hidden abilities to pinpoint where Dakota was fighting in the battlefield. They then found her and brought a shield, surrounded Dakota's head, sucking the air out of Dakota and choking her. Dakota was grasping for air as she collapsed on her knees, choking. Her eyes were bulging out. She did not understand what was happening to her until it was too late. Dakota died without a single scratch on her body. With that, the two ladies, Catherine and Portia, were going back to their ship to reminisce on good times. However, the annoying, prying Demeter Colonia was still flying around and trying to attack Catherine and Portia. You dirty traitor. You Sun and Sharon make me sick. Can never trust you. I'll kill you both and win this war. Then Catherine was like, go ahead, Portia. You have seen enough war for one day. I'll end this bastard myself and give my husband a favor. And so Catherine and Demeter began to duke it out. Catherine and Demeter were fighting in the air with swords. Demeter was using all his might in his prime form in order to gain an upper hand. However, he found out that Catherine was a little bit too much for him to handle, but he did not want to lose faith. Down below, his wife Barbara and his brother Julian were watching from below, believing in their Lord, that he will overcome the leader of the Oricians. But Catherine knew that he was a pushover. She was not even using her full power, but she was still in base form. She had a warrior queen outfit on and was in that mood. However, she had another form, a more dangerous and dark form, a form where more violent power could come forth. And Demeter was not worthy of that form. And so Catherine did a blinding light, but Demeter's prime form would not allow himself to be blinded. And so Catherine, trying to use a shield to try to trap him, Demeter broke out of that. And then after that, Catherine then summoned a sword and stabbed Demeter while he was distracted, breaking through Catherine's abilities. Demeter couldn't believe it as he was transformed back into regular form. Long live the king of the insurance, she cried. And then she yanked her sword out of the metal as he fell from the ground, dead. One of the Allied leaders had fallen. Catherine had declared victory and was returned to her ship. It was looking sideways now for the Alliance. While all that was going on, the main fight in space was about to begin. Damian II and Banquratron were fighting. Damian II and Banquratron were equal speed. They moved like lightning across space. Banquratron dodged Damian's attacks and saw play like nothing. Damian couldn't barely see Banquratron, and Damian had reached almost godlike levels. However, Banquratron then slapped Damian, and then he chopped Damian behind the neck, gave Damian a serious gut punch, and did a roundhouse kick around Damian. Damian went flying across space at lightning speed, passing multiple galaxies as he was kicked far away. And then Banquratron then unleashed his full power, and just showing how powerful he truly was. He said, "Eat this, you holy piece of crap." And then he summoned two big giant planets from distant stars and slammed the planets between, squished Damian II between the two planets. The planets exploded and turned into supernovas. Damian was greatly hurt, but yet still alive. And then the damage was not done. Banquratron then controlled galaxies and turned them into spinning discs and threw it at Damian. Damian then regained his composure and tried to dodge those galaxies. Unsure which galaxies they were. This man is too powerful. If this keeps up, the entire universe will be destroyed. I had to work with my father. I had to work with Catherine in the past to defeat evil, great forces. I must do this on my own to prove my worth, Damian thought. And so he unleashed his full power, channeling the powers of the armor of God and the radiance of virtue, channeling and calling about his father, Damian I, to help aid him in his time of need. And so he clashed with Banquratron, who was still strong, and the two men began to clash. Damian then hit Banquratron with all the weapons in all known time and space all at once. Missiles, bombs, poison, swords, guns, lasers, everything that he could even imagine to attack Banquratron. Banquratron first was not affected. As the bombs and more weapons of old and new were coming, he started to block, and he started to get hurt a little bit, and dazed, and then a little bit confused, and then stunned. Damian then saw his chance. He unleashed a triad of ultimate special attacks. He had two tomes with him, and he himself did the move, attacking Banquratron from three fronts, able to destroy him. And then he unleashed an ultimate attack, an ultimate golden holy matrimony Damian sword slash attack, the same attack he used to kill Nakubi. And he did that on Banquratron, who took the attack and was greatly hurt, but yet still alive. Damian II had unleashed everything he had in one go, but Banquratron was still alive. "How could this be?" he said. "There is no way." Banquratron then regained his composure and said, "Mighty Holy Emperor, now you see the nightmare you found yourself in. Today the elders fall, and the universe shall be recreated in my own image. You are nothing without those that you call your friends. How could you lead the universe if you can't do nothing on your own?" Damian refused to be discouraged, and so he summoned all the power he could possibly have. The people of the universe that had faith in him, and the faith he had in his God and the Holy Spirit, and anything that he could muster power, and within himself. He powered himself for one last attack. Banquratron knew what time it was, and so he too powered up himself towards the final clash. It was here that the forces of the war world witnessed energy was leaving from certain people and leaving from themselves, especially the side of the Banquratron and royals. They couldn't believe what was happening. Catherine, who had returned back to her ship, noticed it, and she knew what she had to do. She teleported away from Portia and the others. Portia had no idea where Catherine went. Other than that, the clash between Banquratron and Damian had occurred. The two men squared off, and the power of their collision was so great. A mighty explosion was felt across the cosmos. Everyone felt the pressure from it. It was electric, even as far as the Milky Way galaxy. In the Udean planet, Demeter, who was hoping for the best for his lady and the others, was contemplating whether they'll ever see our dimensions again. And so he is about to accept being on the planet and defending it and working along with those of their allies. However, this mighty explosion pushed him out of his chair and onto his back. He couldn't believe the force that he felt. What the hell is this, he thought. And then, when dust was settled, Damian II was on his back. He was in another dimension. The place was filled with purple sky and stars, and energy flowing around. A new dimension was formed from the clash between him and Banquratron. A power so great had never been experienced in the universe before, since creation itself. A new dimension was made. Damian tried to get up, but those were the only words he said. He collapsed and was knocked out. As for Banquratron was no more, and thus Damian had somehow won that battle. However, it was far from over. The fusion between Golden Royal and Zavia was over. Golden Royal body was some ways away, knocked out. But as for the bottom half of Banquratron was occupied by the top half of Zaria. A plan had worked. She knew this powerful body will only be controlled by Nourishing. Her sickness was gone, and she stood now as the most powerful being in the new dimensions. She laughed happily and wickedly as she went walking towards the now beaten and battered Holy Emperor Damian II. Picking Damian by the collar and hoist him up in the air. You foolish Damian. The Holy Emperor wasted away like a little child that he is. You should know better than to mess with the big dogs. And now I, Zavia, now host of this great power and body that is presented to me, I've created this new dimensions as my new base of operation, where I will claim dominion over the entire universe. All will bow before me. All of the Banquratron, all the Insurance, all the Rishian, all living beings will bow before the new queen of the universe. Before Zaria could finish Damian II off, she felt a dark and evil presence surrounding her. A presence she had never felt before in all the history of the universe. It was like nothing she had ever seen. It was truly, truly horrific. I can't believe it, she said. What power is this? Suddenly, fear gripped Zavia as she let go of Damian, and Damian's body slowly but surely rested gently on the ground. a dark and menacing figure with red black eyes, oozing power, walked circumspectly down towards Xavier. Xavier was scared out of her mind. It was like death was walking towards her, an evil being with immense power, more power than Banquratron could ever dream of. Xavier was scared. She looked into the face of death and saw it was Catherine. Catherine's other form. Catherine's evil form. She had not only inherited the powers of her mother, but the evil powers of her father. Catherine was a secret demon, had now been unleashed as she saw that her husband was on the verge of death by the hands of a traitor. Xavier then was on her knees, begging for Catherine's forgiveness. "My lady, please don't kill me. It was all a plan. It was a ploy to get the universe to be destabilized for your Lord return. I would never betray you." Those words, they were just to fool the enemy. Please don't kill me. And Zaria, not wanting to pollute her hands, Catherine, not wanting to pollute her hands by touching Xavier, Ben lifted her up with her powers, levitated her, and said, "Banquratron Orishian, Hethon Orishian, Toyo, Almalo. There will only be one Orishian from now on, and that should be led by me, the queen of all Orishian. You, Banquratron, make me sick. Be gone from you all. Never existed." And then Catherine clenched her fist, and Zaria and her great assistant, Fascia, who was still in the war world, screamed in agony as they were completely erased from existence. Catherine's evil powers had finally been felt. However, she maintained her powers only to that room. And then, without warning, Catherine returned back to her normal self, rushed out towards her husband, and said, "Damian, oh, what have they done to you? Are you okay, my love? Oh, I will get you back home safe. I will treat and tend to your wounds myself." Oh. Then she kissed her husband romantically and left. And then Alicia Royal then appeared, tracking her brother in this new dimension. She then tried to reach out to Gordon to see if he was okay. She was unaware of the events that had transpired. She wondered where everybody was. Gordon said, with a smile on his face, although very weak, I know the truth of all things. I know everything now." "Sister, the war is lost. Tell our forces to return back to our galaxy. The future depends on my survival from this." Alicia did not understand her brother's words then, but in due time she will. And thus they retreated. The war was at last over.